Have you ever looked back at someone and realized you weren't missing them? You were just missing the feeling that they gave you? That's a difficult realization. You know, when we're hurting, it's easy to call it heartbreak. But sometimes you're grieving the routine, comfort, attention, a future we imagine. And that's where people start confusing love with attachment. They almost feel identical, but they lead you down two very different paths. you know? Welcome back to Raw Over Romance. I'm your host, O. And here, we're always going to keep it real about dating. Today, we're talking about two feelings that people often mistake with one another: love and attachment. If you ever struggled to let someone go, stayed in a relationship longer than you should have, or convinced yourself you couldn't live without somebody, then this conversation is for you. So let's keep it real. One of the biggest mistakes we make is believing that every strong emotion must be love. It isn't. They can feel the same, but don't mean the same thing. That's why they're so easy to confuse. Here's the difference. Love is about the person. Attachment is about what the person provides. Sounds simple, right? But it's not. Think about it. Do you miss their character, their values, the way they treat people? Or do you miss the good morning texts, the late night conversations, having someone in your corner, a routine that quietly became part of your life? That's why it's so hard to separate love from attachment. You can genuinely care about someone while also struggling to let go of a life that you built around them. Those two things can exist at the same time, because you're not just saying goodbye to a person. You're saying goodbye to a version of your life that you thought would last. Maybe that's why healing feels so confusing. You spend months believing you missed them. Then one day, you realize what you really missed was the future you imagined with them. It's a realization that changes everything. That's why over time, your perspective begins to change. But because your life slowly grows around the space that used to feel empty, new routines, experiences, new people, and somewhere along the way, you notice you aren't trying to get them back anymore. You're grateful from what you learned. And that's when you understand something that most people don't realize. Love doesn't just disappear overnight, but attachment can quietly fade away. Once you stop depending on someone to make you feel complete. Real love doesn't ask you to lose yourself. It gives you room to become more of who you already are. And the reason I know that is because I had to learn it the hard way. There was a time in my life when I couldn't tell the difference either. Truth is, I'm a walking rom-com, believe it or not. You know, when I fall for someone, my mind, it just starts writing chapters, that haven't even happened yet. Like vacations, holidays, a future. Back then, it honestly felt like she was the person I spend the rest of my life with. Then one day, it was over. First thing I thought was, damn, I can't believe she ended it. And I had some questions. Was I enough? Could I have done something differently? And looking back, I think a lot of us fall into that same trap. We become so convinced we found our person that we stop noticing the small ways we begin to change. Not all at once, just little pieces here and there. The way you think, the things you accept, parts of yourself you never expected to change. All because you're trying to make the relationship fit. Nah. Because in reality, was the connection ever as balanced as it felt? While you're building a future in your mind, the other person may be deciding if you're a part of theirs. That's when another realization hit me. Nobody had to point it out. Life did. I watched my friends and their relationships. Their girlfriends took interest in things that they enjoyed. They were a part of each other's world. That made me think about my relationships. Why didn't it feel that way? Why did everything revolve around my girlfriends or my ex-girlfriends? Maybe I wasn't asking for too much. Maybe we just weren't looking for the same kind of relationship. That realization, it didn't make me bitter. It made my standards more clear. I was looking for a partner. I wasn't looking for a girlfriend, someone who wanted to become a part of my life just as much as I wanted to become a part of theirs. Because if one person is stepping into the other person's world, they won't ever feel balanced. A relationship should bring two people together and their lives, not leave one person feeling like they're living in someone else's. Maybe that's why love and attachment can get so confused. And if you're listening today, ask yourself, are you holding on to somebody because you truly love that person? Or because you've become attached to always playing a role in their life? Those aren't the same thing. And one day you'll learn the difference. It's the day you stop chasing relationships and choosing the right ones. I'm your host, O, and this is Raw Over Romance. Here, we're always going to keep it real about dating. And if you're feeling this, you already know what to do, you heard?
I've been keeping it raw over romance. Real conversation over slow dance. Ain't with the fake, I don't hold hands. If it ain't authentic, I don't do the scams. You gonna front, I don't play them games. I seen true love turn into flames. Just keeping it real, I don't need the fame. Raw over romance, it's not a game.